Let's talk about the small stuff, those tiny things around our homes that, if we're not careful, create big clutter and big frustration. Today, we're talking about what small stuff really is, why it's a major source of clutter, and most importantly, how to take control of it for good. You guys, small stuff is sneaky. My sisters both have junk drawers in their kitchens, and when I visit, yes, I get the itch to declutter and organize those drawers for them. Yeah, even if they don't want me to. I am that sister. I'm annoying, I am. But I'll open that drawer, pull out a random tiny metal thing, and I'll ask them, "So, what's this for, huh?" And they'll get all bothered and say, "Well, I don't know, but it's important, okay? Put it back and get away from that drawer." So I like to bug my sisters, but if you open your junk drawer right now, do you have a random tiny metal tool or random pieces of something in there that you're not sure what it is, but you think it might be important one day? Or maybe you have a collection of small stuff that you know exactly what it is, but they sit on the corners of your kitchen counter or on your nightstand because, well, where should it all go? So I think this episode will really help you to figure this all out. We don't often realize how much space tiny items take up or the stress they cause until they're everywhere. And it's not just the toys strewn across the family room causing the daily chaos. It's the pile of mail on the kitchen counter every day. It's not the size of your kitchen that's the culprit. It's the school papers, the hair ties and chargers, and bottles of vitamins that are scattered all over it. And here's why small stuff is so problematic. It's because it's easy to just set it down for now, right? The small stuff is usually too small for you to feel really urgent about putting it away, but it collects fast because we usually don't really bother or know how to assign it a home. It blends into the background of your home until it becomes overwhelming. Small clutter is the kind of clutter that grows quietly. You wake up one day and think, how did we get here? Once upon a time, and maybe it's when you first moved into your place, your bedside table only had your book and a bottle of water on it. But today it's got some loose batteries, some slips of paper, random corded earbuds, even though your phone doesn't have that particular jack anymore. And inside the drawer, you've got suitcase name tags, a couple of packs of travel tissues, some coins, a few tiny screws from who knows where, lots of pens, maybe the teeth that the tooth fairy took away. Shh, I won't tell. And every time you open that drawer, it causes you just a little bit of anxiety because it's a mess. So, is this where the stuff should go? And if not, where should it all be? And really, it's pretty overwhelming to think of where and how to organize all of those little things. So, in the end, they just stay there, and probably more small stuff will be added to it because clutter attracts clutter. Your brain knows there are tiny bits of things in there in that drawer, let's say. So, when some other tiny thing shows up in your house, guess what? Your brain is going to tell you, hey, just drop that in with the other tiny things. Why not? Now, the small stuff is a problem when it shows up all over your house, not just in one drawer. And let's take a look at this in reality, okay? Here are some examples of small stuff that love to create clutter: your keys, sunglasses, and wallets, chargers, earbuds, and random tech cords. Think of pens, paper clips, and coins, or jewelry left out on dressers or on your bathroom counters. Kids' toys, especially the tiny extra pieces like Legos, the action figure accessories that have never had a home to begin with, and hair accessories like scrunchies and clips and bows, the little sample makeup and skincare bottles, craft supplies like glue sticks, beads, and spools of thread. And then, of course, kitchen junk drawer items like batteries, rubber bands, brochures, and business cards. Now, each of these things might seem harmless by itself, But together, like when I just read off that entire list, did it feel like a lot? Yeah, it felt like a lot to me. And it all creates visual and mental noise. It's what makes rooms feel cluttered, even if your big furniture pieces are beautiful and minimal. Okay. So the small stuff problem has a solution, and it is to give every small item a home. That's it. If it doesn't have a place it belongs, it will land wherever there's an empty surface. And that's how clutter spreads. Every single category of small stuff needs a few things so it doesn't become clutter. So it needs a defined place to live, so it's home, right? And it needs easy access if it's used frequently or urgently. And it needs big, easy to read labels to prevent lazy drop offs, meaning you just put something down in the general area of its home because you know it belongs in there somewhere, but it's a little too difficult to take the top of something to drop it in, right? When things have a home, it's faster and easier to put them away. When they don't, they live wherever your hands happen to leave them. Okay, but one tip here: when you are overwhelmed by clutter, don't start by buying organizing products, okay? Start first by deciding, well, where should this live? If you can answer that question for your small stuff, you're already 90% of the way toward getting organized. And I'm not being silly here. I really truly believe that. If it's got a home, if you know where that home is going to be, you're 90% of the way there. All right. Now let's look at how to organize the small stuff. And here's a big organizing concept that I teach my clients. Organize based on urgency and frequency of use. Now, I'm going to remind you here that I am the lazy organizer, right? So don't get caught up in the terms urgency and frequency. Just think of, hey, how often do I need this? And when I do need it, how quickly do I need to get my hands on it? All right. Right. So as you look around your house and you see the small stuff, and you're going to start seeing it more now, scattered all around, ask yourself two simple questions. How often do I need this? That's frequency. And how fast do I need to get my hands on it when I do need it? That's urgency. And depending on those answers, you'll organize differently. And here are some examples. Okay. First, the stuff that's really important that you use every day, maybe even multiple times a day. These are high urgency and high frequency. So things like your keys, your sunglasses, your wallet, chargers, the kid's iPad, the diaper bag, things like that. Now, these need a drop zone near the door or in the kitchen. And because they're high urgency, the best thing to do is not have any barrier to grabbing them. Okay. So think of a big open bowl or a tray in your entryway or in the kitchen where you will always drop your keys, your wallet, your sunglasses, the iPad when you get home. Now, for a lot of women, all this stuff may actually just live in your handbag or in the diaper bag. And if that's the case, you just need a spot for that bag that is without a barrier. A barrier meaning no doors. You don't need to open a door to get to it. You don't need to open a drawer to get to it. You don't need to move other stuff out of the way to get to it. And usually you'll need a spot in the entryway or in the kitchen when you get home. And then you probably take that bag with you to your bedroom at night. Okay. So think about a spot in the entryway or the kitchen where it's easy to put that bag. Maybe it's just a hook in the entryway, or it's a particular spot in the kitchen that's not a meal prep area. All right. And then in your bedroom, when you take that bag to your room at night, what spot will you designate for your bag so that in the morning you can grab it easily on your way out? Next, there's the small stuff that you use daily, but it's not like you only have seconds to get your hands on it. These are low urgency and high frequency. Things like your hairbrush, your daily vitamins, or the tiny toys that your toddler plays with when you're waiting for your other older kids at drama practice, let's say. You use these things often at a certain time, and maybe in a certain place, but they're not truly urgent, are they? So for this type of item, store them where you can grab them easily. Open storage is probably best, again, without covers and lids, but there's usually a lot of this type of item, like all the vitamins. So make sure you contain them in some kind of container or basket or pretty bin. And while the container you keep them in could be open, like I said, if it bothers you to have them out in the open because you prefer a more clear, streamlined look to your surfaces, then you can keep this container behind closed doors, like inside a cabinet or inside a drawer. It's tempting to leave them out because, like vitamin bottles on the counter, because you're thinking, well, I need the reminder to take them. But I'll warn you again that small stuff left out on a surface quickly attracts more clutter. And then you've got the vitamin bottles in that container. Then you've got little baggies of dog treats. And all of a sudden, a free water bottle ends up in there and other stuff that'll get drawn to that space on the counter and in that bin. And before you know it, it's visual clutter again. Okay, now the small stuff that you barely ever use, but you still need them. This is the low urgency and low frequency stuff. Things like holiday bows or gift tags, right? These are things that you can store in less convenient places, maybe up on higher shelves or in an out of the way storage closet. You want to make sure that you label the bins or drawers that you use for these really clearly because you'll store them in spots that are outside of the prime real estate areas of your home. So you want to be able to find and identify where you stored them when you actually need them. So you're not buying more of what you already have. And finally, the small stuff that you don't use often at all, but when you do need it, you want to get your hands on these things in seconds. These are high urgency, but low frequency. These are things like your first aid stuff and pain medications, or small flashlights that you'll use during storms, or the batteries for your car keys or TV remotes or ceiling fan remotes. Like you don't need these things often at all. But when you do need them, you want them fast. So you want these things to be easy to find, but not like just hanging out on the kitchen counter every day. You need to be able to access them easily when you need them, right? So don't bury these things under other bins and boxes. Keep a container of these on the top level, like at eye level, and label them really, really clearly. You don't need fancy or expensive systems to keep the small stuff under control. And what works for you might not work for me in my home. I might like a certain style and you prefer something else. I'm happy with matching white plastic open top bins from IKEA for the glue sticks and the beads and glitter, but you might prefer to keep those things in a box with a lid. And you might prefer matching bamboo drawer organizers for your office supplies in the top drawer of your desk, and I might prefer plastic. You might want a very specific organizer for your lipsticks that keeps them all upright, separated from one another, and I'm okay with my lipsticks lying flat in my drawer. Right. Now, one very important tip for you is for all the small stuff that you think is important, but you're not really sure what it is. I know how we can get stuck on these things. Like, do you keep them? Do you not? And the same goes for the extra pieces that come with something, like extra screws that came with a piece of furniture, or the tiny accessories that came with a toy or an electronic gadget. And for these things, here is a potential solution. Keep a small box of plastic zip top baggies, couple of different small sizes, because sometimes it's teeny tiny pieces and sometimes it's a big tool that you want to keep. Add a Sharpie and keep these things in a box in an easy to reach spot, like a high urgency but low frequency spot. This is a perfect little container to keep in a kitchen drawer or in your desk drawer. What you're going to do is when you bring something home with extra parts, but you're scared to get rid of the extras, immediately put them in a baggie, label it clearly with the Sharpie, like white desk parts. And then you'll drop that baggie into a bin or box or basket that you're going to label spare parts. And if you come across something in your house that you don't know what it is, like the metal thing in my sister's junk drawer, put it in a baggie, label it don't know, looks important, drop it in the spare parts bin and call it a day. Now, you've got a resting place now for all the random spare parts that come into your house. And you want to make sure that this spare parts bin is easily accessible. Don't hide it under other things because then guess what'll happen? You won't put the little baggies in there and then you'll be back to clutter. Okay, let's do a quick recap because I feel like this was a lot. Today we covered why small stuff is one of the biggest causes of clutter, right? Because we haven't given each of these tiny things a home. The simple but essential solution is to give everything a home. And you can decide where that home is based on urgency and frequency of use. So the stuff that you use often and need to grab fast, use an open container in super easy access, like for your keys or your handbag. The stuff that you use routinely every day, but they're not truly urgent, like your vitamins, maybe contain them in open storage behind closed doors, let's say, or in a drawer so it's not visible out in the open. The things you might use once in a while, and they're also really not that urgent, like gift tags or suitcase name tags, we'll put it away on the top shelf, is fine. Just make sure that the container is labeled well in big letters, and it's better to store that stuff out of the prime real estate spots in your house. And the stuff that you need to get your hands on quickly, but only every once in a while, like your first aid kit, the batteries for your car keys, these things you don't need often. But when you do, you need them immediately. So store them in a container with easy access at eye level and well labeled. And then, of course, create a spare parts bin to drop all the random pieces that you're scared to get rid of. So use little baggies, label them with a Sharpie so you know what the spare parts are for. Make sense? Okay, so here's a gentle challenge for you this week. Pick a tiny spot that has some of this random small stuff in it, like your junk drawer, your bedside table, or just a spot on your kitchen counter. Now, I want you to find only the low urgency, low frequency stuff in that area, the stuff that you barely ever use and that's not even very urgent when you do need it. Okay, but you do need to keep it, like suitcase name tags or holiday bows. I want you to get those things out of the prime real estate areas of your home. So find a little container for these things or just use a shoebox, label it. You can use a sticky label or use clear packing tape to tape a note card or a piece of paper onto it. And then create a home for this bin or shoebox. Put it away someplace that's not in the main areas of your kitchen, like the top shelf of your hallway closet. Look, you just organized some small stuff and you've cleared off some of these things from your kitchen or your dining room. Okay. Let me know how this goes for you because I know, and my sisters know, that the small stuff can really cause big clutter. I want to take a moment to remind you that I'm going to be giving a free class coming up at the start of the summer called 3 Simple Steps to Painlessly Declutter Your Kitchen in Just a Weekend. And so the clutter doesn't come back. If you want to be on the list for that class, please go to fireflybridge.com/update and I'll keep you updated. Okay. I'll put the link into the show notes. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you spending your time with me, and I'll see you on the next episode.